Fratelloni's Hardware and Garden Stores brings you Garage Logic Podcast number 1044, March 28th, 2023. 78 degrees on this day. Back in 1946. And it was as chilly as 1 below on this day in 1923. And I have no ice outs to report.
Oh, really? No. So I'll remain in the studio while I hit the theme here.
And now, from the mayor's office above the boathouse on the east shore of Spoon Lake, it's Garage Logic with Chris Reavers manning Technology Corner, Kenny Olson from the Krabby Coffee Shop, John Heidt in the newsroom, and of course, the rookie. Here is your flashlight king, fireworks commissioner, and the keeper of common sense, your mayor, Joe Soucheray.
Bert Note says, the wife and I walked along Bassett Creek. I think he's doing that to irritate me.
Creek, yeah, I think he is too.
Creek. I noted aloud that it doesn't seem very floody. We find Bassett to be a pretty good indicator of what spring will bring. She agreed, and after a pause asked, does Soucheray still do those ice out announcements? I said I didn't know and wondered if you had forgotten. She said, well, the ice outs are tedious, but I'm glad he does them. And then today, boom, went the dynamite. We have the tedium of ice outs. But I can't find one for today. And some other matters relating to yesterday. And let me clear up something about Matt Walsh. I've been getting a lot of emails about him, and I might have been too quick to paint him with a broad brush. Apparently, he's a GLer, and I think he's behind the film "What Is a Woman," and he's got quite the followers. So, yes, Matt Walsh, I will give a listen.
Is that a rhetorical question? What is a woman?
No, I think he was having fun with the idea that these morons can't define what a woman is. Remember the Supreme Court justice who, what's her name, John? She couldn't define what a woman was. She was afraid to. Somebody Jackson?
Yeah, Jackson, exactly, yes.
Some matters regarding yesterday. I said chopping ice was an indicator of boredom, and I'm getting pushback on that. Paul Root notes, got to disagree on chipping ice is not boredom. I spend all winter not just clearing the driveway, sidewalk, and fire hydrant, but also the gutter from my driveway to the sewer drain. With a north-facing house, no melting goes on my side of the road. If I don't keep the drain clear when melting does start, I would have a lake at the end of the driveway. Now, this past 4 to 5 days, I've been out a couple of times in reverse space management. Since I had piles of snow next to the driveway over 4 feet high, I've been shoveling snow from the piles back onto the driveway to get them to melt sooner. It's satisfying to see it melt, but yeah, it's a time waster. Last spring, my phone popped up in a picture of my. Last spring, my phone popped up a picture of my MG from 2019. I drove it to work on this day in 2019, top down, of course. It was about 5 miles back then. Now I'm thinking Saturday might be the day to pull that car out from its slumber. Paul in Buffalo. But you didn't send me a picture of the car.
Come on.
That's all you. That whole letter. That's all you cared about.
The whole thing boiled down to let me see the MG. And then Howard notes, chopping ice is not a sign of boredom, and I resent the suggestion that the activity lacks creativity. It is instead a right we have earned as suburban Minnesotans. We have persevered through this frozen purgatory called winter, and it is our opportunity to exact revenge upon that which has repressed and endangered us. In fact, I will go so far as to say that in this one narrow instance, man has an effect on nature when we take out our frustrations on ice that is weakening and defenseless. When I'm chopping ice, my inaudible but constant mantra is simple. Take that. I'm not on your lawn. You're on mine, Howard. Howard.
Okay. I don't mind him chopping ice, but putting snow back on your clean driveway just so it melts, that's
I would throw it in the street, maybe not necessarily in the driveway.
That's reverse space management.
Yeah.
Isn't that something? You spend all winter practicing space management, and then you reverse it. I did call the Bemidji, Minnesota School District. They do still have employed as a high school teacher, Gina Marie Bernard, who came up yesterday with her send up of the people in Tennessee. She said, geez, I guess I'll never get to go down there and secretly inject 11-year-olds with hormone blockers while I do an interpretive drag dance to my favorite Judy Blume novel. She was suggesting that the people of Tennessee are a little over the top when it comes to transgender issues. But she also writes dreadful poetry. But the school, I'm sure the school is going to state. Whoever I talked to said, no, we didn't fire her.
Wow.
And I'm sure what the school can claim is that these are her private musings. Yeah. You found information, John?
Yeah, there were just some articles in the local Bemidji newspaper, The Pioneer, I believe it was, in 2013 about a book that she had published, and then in 2018 about 2 books of poetry that she had published. Speaking of her poetry, did you happen to look at any of her poetry, Joe?
No.
You wouldn't have liked it. It was awful in content, but then nothing rhymed. So
I hate that. I'm done with that right off the bat. See ya.
Well, okay. So Bemidji, your kids can take English classes from her, and I'm sure they'll be wonderful. The
what are they going to learn from her is what I want to know.
The news. I'm sensing the traditional news gathering institutions don't know where to be on the Nashville shooting. By the way, the cops there behaved a lot better than those cops in Uvalde, Texas, didn't they? They got in and took care of it. This is a transgender person who did the shooting, and for that reason, I'm afraid it's making more news than it might have. And I don't know. They don't know what to make of that, and neither do I, because I'm reasonably convinced there's a lot of transgender people who don't intend to shoot anybody.
I would agree. I would say probably 99.99%.
99.9999999.
That might even be high.
Percent.
Or low.
Apparently, this shooter had an agenda. She had intentions of getting to the mall, apparently, a mall, to shoot people. The coppers strongly believe she was going to some other targets, including family members in one of the malls in Nashville. And that's according to Nashville Police Chief John Drake said on CBS this morning. And he said, and that just did not happen. Well, it didn't happen because the coppers acted quickly. The shooter's name is Audrey Hale, 28 years old, who officials say was armed with at least 2 assault-style weapons and a handgun. Drake said a search of the shooter's home turned up 2 additional weapons, and I believe some more maps, Drake said, pertaining to maybe some thinking about her other incidents. The shooter had attended the school, the Covenant School, in the city's affluent Green Hills neighborhood, and the police believe the shooter might have had some history there. What detectives have said so far is there's possibly some resentment for having had to go to that school, the police chief said. Drake said authorities believe the shooting was targeted and planned. We have a manifesto. We have a booklet that shows exactly what she planned to do. We have maps that show the entry point into the school, the weapons that were going to be used, the clothing that she was going to wear, and she had drawn it up almost like a cartoon character. It was exactly what she had on during this incident. This, of course, has reignited the discussion in this country about the availability of assault-style weapons. I personally believe that the shooter is at fault and not the weapon, but you're going to get nowhere with that argument with euphorians. The euphorians believe that these weapons are to blame. All these weapons do is just make it easier for disturbed people to shoot. I don't know what to do about it. I won't believe my freedom is affected if you could somehow figure a way out to remove all assault-style weapons from the United States. But to do that, you'd need what?
Super magnet.
The super magnet.
Yep. That's the only thing that can...
There's no other way to do it, and I'm not being facetious. You'd have to suspend above the country a very large magnet. What color is it?
It's got the red tips, but it's silver. It's a horseshoe, and it's a giant horseshoe with the red tips.
Giant horseshoe.
It's not letting any gun stay on Earth. It's going away.
You're going to get a lot of people's walkers, and you're going to get patio furniture.
Some hips.
You're going to get some hips.
Oh, ouch!
But you're going to get those assault style. If somehow those are banned, I'll be okay. But I don't know how we do have our president who was weighed in on this. Apparently, he was made aware of this dreadful tragedy and kids lost in Nashville. And here's what he had to say.
My name is Joe Biden. I'm Dr. Joe Biden's husband. And I ate Jenny's ice cream, chocolate chip. I came down because I heard there was chocolate chip ice cream. By the way, I have a whole refrigerator full upstairs. You think I'm kidding? I'm not. God. Ben, how are you, pal? One of the best guys in the United States Congress, Ben Cardin. Folks,
now he goes back to the podium.
I just want to speak very briefly about the school shooting in Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay.
Ben,
then he goes on to say what you would expect him to say.
But he walked back to the podium, put the handheld microphone down, and then started to address it. I have no idea what was going through his mind.
At the very least, isn't that disconcerting? He's up apparently in the private part of the White House. He gets word of this shooting, and he comes downstairs to address the country. And he's no, help me then.
No, this was already a women's business summit.
Oh, okay.
That was scheduled, so he came down for that.
He came down for that, and is that when he got word of the shooting?
Yeah. Yep.
Did he get word of the shooting before the ice cream or after?
Yes, before. Well, he received word of the shooting before he went down. I know it was in the afternoon. I think 2:45 their time. We'll watch. So 1:45 our time, and the shooting was at 10 our time. So he had to have already known about the shooting when he went down there, I would assume. But he didn't go down there specifically to speak on that. He went down there for the business summit address that he was supposed to make.
Wouldn't a staff member intervene to say, you know what, we've got to go off script here? I know these ladies are here for the business, but
You would think, yes.
This is Trump and everything, so to speak. Bad pun.
So he play it again.
You want the ice cream?
Yeah.
Don't worry, it's just a little ice cream. Hang on.
Holy.
It's a transformer.
Nope.
What the hell is that?
It was on. It was still playing, so I have to cue it up again here.
Oh.
Here we go. Just hoping there's not an ad this time. Okay.
I'm Dr. Joe Biden's husband. And I ate Jenny's ice cream, chocolate chip. I came down because I heard there was chocolate chip ice cream. By the way, I have a whole refrigerator full upstairs. You think I'm kidding? I'm not. God. Ben, how are you, pal? One of the best guys in the United States Congress, Ben
Keep it
Cardin.
going this time.
Folks, welcome to the White House.
And that it kills out. So then I have to go to the other.
Okay.
He was speaking 4.5 hours after the shooting. 10:13 was the shooting. 2:43 was the time he began speaking. So 4.5 hours.
My wife was so upset that she texted me yesterday and said the president came on and was doing a comedy routine.
Well, let's try to figure this out. He is coming down to address this women's group, right?
Correct. Yep.
And that's how you might have started addressing a women's group. Say,
Okay.
hey, I just came down. Maybe you guys got some chocolate ice cream. I have some upstairs. And then it must occur to him to address what happened in Nashville. And then he did. So
yeah, but he would have his handlers. He would have said, "Listen, I'm going to tell a couple of ice cream jokes and then address Nashville." I would advise him. Are you crazy?
I doubt if he even. I doubt if he even had that.
Well, that was spur of the moment. That was not scripted.
Sure,
obviously.
that was just spontaneous gibberish. Well, I don't know what to think, people, anymore.
It was awkward, at least.
Okay, reverse the roles.
At least.
Dial it back 4 years ago. What would the reaction be?
There would have been outrage. Outrage.
You think there's outrage here? Or are we just dismissing him to be...
There's outrage, certainly.
Well, you're right-wingers.
Yeah,
yes. Fox News is going to go crazy, so all the hardcore right-wingers are going to go nuts.
So
I think it was tasteless, but, I mean, what do we do?
Oh, it's worse than tasteless. It's disconcerting about his capabilities. His
moron chip didn't work there.
Right, his chip failed. I mean, and nothing will come of it. And maybe nothing should. I don't know what to say about it except it's disturbing.
I agree with you guys, but here's my issue.
Oh, go, Johnny, go. Careful.
Well, no, and I want to be careful here. I'm sure you read in the paper today, and I saw it last night, about the congressman that represents that area.
Yeah, with the Christmas card.
Yeah, do you think that's tasteless and off kilter?
Of course I do.
Okay, good. Well, then, yeah, we're on the same page then. But yeah, I agree. The president did not.
It's not analogous. The Christmas card. It's a congressman that represents the Nashville area, by the way. Yep. The Christmas card did not follow a specific shooting within a few hours. That was a guy playing politics and playing to his base and showing his voters that he owns rifles. I don't think that's an indication of dementia on the part of the congressman. I think it's a demonstration of idiocy. And I don't think what Biden said about chocolate chip ice cream is a demonstration of idiocy. I think it's a demonstration of dementia.
Dementia?
Mm-hmm. Of really not knowing the time and place that he was in. I mean, obviously he knew he was in the White House, but...
Well, coming from a guy that occasionally his filter doesn't work, I even know that I would not have begun that with that ice cream joke.
Well...
Yeah, okie doke.
It's a bit odd, isn't it?
That's a good way to summarize that.
It's an odd time we live in, Joe. I don't know if you've noticed.
We really, really do. The Euphorians, as they do, as well as they might, that's their cause, will suggest that this is another example to get rid of the assault-style weapons. I happen to believe that disturbed person would have figured out a way to kill people. You know what? I never hear these people talking about the gangsters shooting each other in North Minneapolis.
Never do.
You've got these kids in North Minneapolis who on a daily basis are shooting each other, often wounding and killing each other. Now, would there be more commentary about it if they were doing that? If they were doing that shooting with assault-style weapons? Because to my knowledge, none of the shootings committed by the youth who are feral youth loose in a gang war, to my knowledge, they are not using assault-style weapons.
No, they're not.
They're using stolen handguns or whatever they can get their hands on, but they're not using assaults. But I never hear anything about that. It's almost as though some shootings are okay if you're a euphorian, but other shootings are not.
I have a question about that. Why aren't they? I'm not encouraging them to, but...
Well, the way to answer the question is to realize every shooting is a behavior problem, not a gun problem.
Agreed.
Well, there's my answer.
Plus, Rook, the availability, I think, money-wise, et cetera, of that gun would be a gangbanger's going to grab a handgun when he can, steal it, whatever.
Fair enough.
There's no place really you're not going to break into a car and steal any kind of rifle.
The odds of that would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't steal an assault weapon out of a car usually.
You know, if you own one of those, you're probably not just leaving it in the back seat.
No. Well, in any event, dreadful. Little kids see this on the news and they get worried, and it's tough to figure out what to tell them. Don't worry about it.
The pictures of kids at this scene are heartbreaking. When you can see the fright, everything on their face. It's just, ugh.
And I tried to get somewhere with this avenue of conversation, and I didn't. To me, this is also just symptomatic of this horrible and rapid breakdown in moral and ethical integrity. This didn't happen 25, 30 years ago. It just didn't happen. Some bad things happened.
Well, you'd get an occasional bath, school, and stuff like that, but it was not once a week.
You got Dylan and Klebold in Denver. But it wasn't happening with this frequency. And it was happening. It didn't happen at a time in life when assault-style weapons existed. So
they weren't legal, though.
That's right.
Then.
But there were plenty of them around. Well, it's a no-win topic, isn't it? I argue for moral clarity, and I get nowhere. I point out moral and ethical decline, and I get nowhere. I point out that what's the difference between shooting somebody with an assault weapon and a handgun in North Minneapolis? I get nowhere. Oh, the difference, of course, is you can do more damage more quickly with the assault-style weapon. But this pathetic soul in Nashville, there's no accounting for her behavior. We don't know anything about her. Transgenderism has nothing to do with it, in my estimation.
And we don't know. Yeah, we don't know the backstory yet.
This country continues to be afflicted by just dreadful situations, politically, academically, business. We're a hot mess. We're just a hot mess. You got
it's not Positive Tuesday, is it?
I was going to say, man, what are we?
Well, thanks to those cops in Nashville, how many lives did they save?
Not knowing what they're getting into.
I mean, if this idiot, did you see her shoot her way into the school?
Yeah.
On the video?
Yeah. It's crazy.
I suppose a guard at the door would not have been able to prevent that.
No, she seemed pretty determined.
She shoots all the glass out so she can reach in, open the door, and she starts walking around like she thinks she's some sniper.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, for Pete's sake.
Well, I guess if we want to take a positive, and I'm going to, it's the cops.
Yeah.
Because that video's, they're in there to take care of business, to, make sure nobody else gets hurt.
Right. And she was in the act of continuing to roam the school when they caught up to her.
Yep. And had she escaped the school, like you said, she had other plans to hit other places. So who knows if she'd have gotten away, what would have happened?
I do have a somewhat positive note for a Tuesday. We have Mercury, Jupiter, Venus, Uranus, and Mars lining up with the moon tonight.
It's a celestial event.
I'm sure I'll miss it.
You want us to call you?
Well, no, it's supposed to be cloudy. The clouds are going to move in. But if you look at the western horizon right after sunset, the planets will stretch from the horizon line to around halfway up the night sky. But don't be late. Mercury and Jupiter will quickly dip below the horizon around a half an hour after sunset. The 5-planet spread can be seen from anywhere on Earth as long as you have clear skies and a view of the west. That's the beauty of planetary alignments. That doesn't take much. It says here that maybe you need binoculars. Jupiter, Venus, and Mars will be easy to see since they shine brightly. Venus will be one of the brightest things in the sky, and Mars will be hanging out near the moon with a reddish glow.
Hanging out.
Mercury and Uranus could be trickier to spot since it will be dimmer. That for them, you might need your binoculars. If you're a planet collector, it's a rare chance to spot Uranus, which usually is invisible. So that's got a green glow, and you look just above Venus for Uranus.
Okay. If that's what you say.
Why don't you just control yourself?
I thought we were pretty far into it without Reavers here.
Yep.
Yeah,
I thought
exactly.
we made it a long stretch.
I confess, though, I had to stop looking at Rook on the camera.
I wouldn't look at you either.
There was a
would not.
5-planet lineup last summer, and there's another one in June. Well, this isn't even that rare then. Big deal. You know what this is? Big deal.
Come on.
These alignments happen when the planets' orbits line them up on one side of the sun from the Earth's perspective. So there you have it. Isn't that a nice note?
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I found another thing I have to have from EcoFun Motorsports besides the golf cart. I've already got an electric bike.
What do you got?
That was stolen from me.
Yeah.
And taken to Chicago.
Right away.
To be used by family members. Have you heard of the Vanderhall?
What's the Vanderhall?
It's a 3-wheeled, street-legal vehicle that is so cool. It takes your breath away. It's almost like a Morgan. There's 8 different Vanderhall USA models in stock at EcoFun Motorsports in Forest Lake in Burnsville. They're 2-seaters. They're street-legal, and you don't want to take them out in a rainstorm.
No.
But they're not motorcycles.
Wow.
They're not cars.
I'm looking at pictures.
Aren't they cool?
Cool.
They're
Yes.
just the coolest thing in the world. And at EcoFun right now, there's a great spring sale on, a preseason sale on all electric bikes and scooters. The Beach Star step-through electric bike, the Sea Star electric bike, all gas scooters, $100 to $300 off. All electric scooters, $300 to $500 off. Lowest price of the year on remaining 2022 Vespa scooters. Moto Guzzi's, Aprilia motorcycles with $1,000 to $3,000 off while they last. Most are at or below dealer cost and carry a 2-year full warranty. It's just fun recreational stuff at EcoFun. Those kids, all-terrain vehicles, the electric bikes, you name it. Great service, great apparel, helmets. EcoFun Motorsports in Forest Lake on 97, just west of 35, and down in Burnsville on the Service Road of Life near County Road 42. EcoFunMotorsports.com.
This guy wears many hats, just not indoors. Joe Souchere.
A Toro zero-turn mower from Tri-State
Not hearing
Bobcat
it.
will make your lawn look amazing. And no more turning laps. The engines and the decks are so powerful that you can just blast back and forth, drastically cutting your mowing time. Right now, Tri-State Bobcat has the best pricing on select model years, both the Time Cutter and the Titan zero-turn mowers, ranging from 42 inches to 60 inches. Discounts 10 to 20% under the promo pricing. And I got to tell you, just ask them to show you the MyRide suspension system. It's so cool. The whole seating platform floats. It's like riding on a cloud. So awesome. If you obsess about your lawn, a Toro zero-turn mower will make it perfect. Tri-State Bobcat can also get you into a Toro snowblower right now during the spring sale. Both the Toro Power Clear single-stage blower and the Power Max two-stage snow blowers are on sale, and these are the best prices of the year. Make sure you tell them you're a GLer when you swing into any one of the tri-state locations, Birdsville, Little Canada, and Hudson. And you can also see everything on their cool website, tristatebobcat.com.
We understand that Governor Walz will have to rent a house while the governor's mansion is being renovated. And it's sinking into me more and more that how could it possibly cost $6.3 million to renovate his house? Before we get to Walz and where he's going to live, how could that be?
We've been dumping money into the old Irving
It gets
house
a lot of money all the time.
Remember Rudy Perpich with the buckets?
Yeah, Rudy took us to the attic and he showed a hose that he had drilled or he had hanging from the roof and it was draining into a bucket. But that alone should be alarming. You can buy a hell of a house for $6.3 million.
You could tear that down
and rebuild for $6.3 million.
And never have to maintain it for the next 10 years.
There's where somebody should be taking a look. $6.3 million to renovate the governor's mansion. Does that make sense?
No, doesn't make. It makes sense for the government to do something like that.
It's not that big.
No, it's neat inside and it's intricate. But if they're going to try to, are they just going to fix it or are they going to try to restore? Restoration is expensive.
They're upgrading a bunch of stuff, plumbing and all that fun stuff, electrical.
But still, $6.3 million.
Well, yeah, it seems outrageous. I agree completely.
It's almost as outrageous as the fact that we have to pay $330,000 for him to lease a house on Sunfish Lake. He's going to lease a house owned by Mike McFadden, who ran
up against Al Franken.
Against Franken in 2014. It's out Vince Flynn way, where Vince built a house. Mm-hmm. And he's got, 7,500 something square feet, 3.5 acres on the lake, 6-car garage. And the property taxes, by the way, are less than many, many smaller houses.
That are in the city proper?
Their property taxes, seriously, the property taxes in that house are about $1,000 less than many smaller houses in St. Paul.
You don't say.
I do say.
Okay. But do you want me to call a former residence of the governor's residence to see if?
No. What could Jesse add? Although I certainly miss Jesse these days. Jeez.
Yeah,
Talk about missing the politician you once had.
I'm glad he doesn't listen to the podcast so he won't hear that. Huh, Gov?
Why? I said something nice.
I know. But I don't listen.
Yeah, of course not.
But tell him when he talked about.
Yeah. Well, the only thing that's, Walz has to live someplace if they're going to go in the governor's mansion and tear it up.
So we have a governor that's not paying property taxes.
Well, no, he doesn't have to. McFadden is on the hook for the property taxes.
Right.
You, the taxpayer, you're on the hook for the $350,000 rent for until what? Something in fall of 2024.
Yeah, I think with an option for extra
June
months.
of 2024 or whatever.
I'd like to congratulate Mike McFadden on a very good business deal. I just don't know that the taxpayer should have.
There's a lot of interesting facets to this story, and I'm going to start with $6.3 million is an obscene amount of money to restore that house.
Why can't we break that down? Is it $4 million for the roof, $2 million for new plumbing? I mean, $2 million?
Well, that's what it's going to come down to, I suppose. New electricity, HVAC, dishwasher. I don't know what they're doing, but the governor does not own a house.
Right.
He does not own his own house.
I learned that yesterday from Annette. Well, I'm the story.
This guy is piling up such a retirement that it's incredible. He's going to get at least 4 pensions, if not 5. He doesn't own a house, so he's been making no house payments. He doesn't have to worry about an automobile.
That's 8 years without a mortgage.
It's just
no
amazing.
Property taxes.
This guy's going to have millions of. I don't know how much a year. He's going to have a lot of money coming in every year.
Yeah.
And so there's a number of facets to look at here. What leaps out at me, besides the extraordinary amount of money to renovate the governor's mansion, which it's an old Irvin house.
Yes.
As in Ordway Irvin. It was donated to the state back in what?
I'll check for you.
1960, late 50s,
Yeah.
whatever. Okay. I don't think it shows much character on his part. I realize you got to live someplace, but you certainly aren't living anywhere. You're not putting your money where your mouth is. Why don't you live in a condo in downtown Minneapolis where they shoot fireworks off at your window on the 4th of July? Why don't you live in one of the many houses that I would imagine are available on Summit Avenue in St. Paul? Why do you need this grandiose place? And it is grandiose. It's 7,500, 7,800 square feet,
Yeah.
6-car garage. It's on the lake, Sunfish Lake. It's just gorgeous.
I'd like that.
Oh, who wouldn't? I would too. And you show no character whatsoever. This is one of the most tone-deaf things he's ever done. Now, he didn't do it, by the way. I mean, I'm sure he was apprised of it, but it's the Department of Administration that writes the checks and found the place and said, hey, Gov, do you want to live in this place? And he probably said, yeah, that sounds great. And off he goes. He's going to be completely insulated from all of the Minnesota values that he holds so dear to his heart.
Yes. Again, not on the same range of President Trump. I was a little fooled by this guy. I thought he was more meat and potatoes.
I was terribly fooled by this guy. I thought military background.
Yes, he's a liberal Democrat teacher. I just thought he'd have a little more.
Maybe that's all we should have realized, that he was a teacher.
65 is when they donated the
1965. Yeah.
Clotilde and Olivia.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's damn near an 8,000 square foot home. It's 7,952.
Really
5 bedrooms.
Well, how's he going to squeeze into that when the governor's residence is 16,000 square feet?
And get this, the state has no money.
Right.
You are paying for $15,000 for new carpet.
New carpeting in the house.
Well, McFadden, they had that green shag. They're a family of no class.
The other part of this that is an astounding number, because 330,000, you think, that's a big number. Yeah, I get
That's
it.
17 grand a month.
That's the number I was going to bring up. The monthly lease, 17,326. Imagine us normal fellas, going, my lease payment this month is 17,000. What?
This is
better
really,
get out of radio.
This is really quite an example of how detached the third rail has become.
Yeah.
The balls on this guy to live in a house that's going to cost the taxpayers $17,326 a month. And he doesn't have, and the state, thankfully, we don't have to pay the property taxes. We don't have to pay the insurance, but we probably have to pay the insurance. Apparently, the carpet is not up to snuff, so the taxpayers have to pay $15 grand for new carpet. And of course, we learned that the Department of Administration has funds in its budget to cover the temporary housing costs, and the legislature doesn't need to take additional action. Well, they presumably would not be taking additional action. What's to take? You just kind of throw your hands up in the air on top of everything else. I said the country right now is in a hot mess. So is the state of Minnesota, and the example he's setting here is just a dreadfully tone deaf example. I'm not saying he should go live in a $500 a month, 800 square foot apartment on University Avenue. I'm saying, though, that he should have done something more representative of the BS he pretends to uphold. And this isn't it. This is the polar opposite of what this guy preaches, the polar opposite. He pretends to represent average Minnesotans, none of whom have lease payments of $17,326 a month. None of whom demand that before the taxpayers start paying the $17,326 a month, that we need to provide $15,000 for new carpet. Because maybe Mrs. Walz didn't like the carpet. I have no idea.
Let's see. I'm at rent.com. Houses for rent
Find
in
one
St.
on Summit
Paul.
Avenue.
Well, I got one on Sargent Avenue for $5,000 a month. The collection at Highland Bridge, that's $5,800 a month.
Okay, now you got to factor in security because they always hide behind that. Well, we need room for the security.
Yeah.
Okay, there's plenty of homes in St. Paul that would have provided as much room for security as the Irvin Mansion near Lexington and Summit.
Yes.
Plenty. It's between Lexington and Victoria on Summit, on the east side of the street. And there's not that great of a property there. There's a nice side yard where you could park a state trooper car or whatnot. But I guarantee you McFadden's place will have more room than the Summit Avenue place.
Oh.
So you got to factor in security. They get away with that.
Right.
You need security. Okay. You're going to have more room for security than you know what to do with at Sunfish Lake.
You could park a fleet.
Plus, one side of the house is you don't need to secure. It's a lake.
Right.
Unless they're going to come after you in kayaks.
I was just going to say they might boat in, Joe.
Well, you can't use a motor on that lake. So it would have to be a canoe, a very quiet sailboat.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, that's no problem. It's a gorgeous little lake. It's not much of a lake, but it's gorgeous. And this is an astonishing example of what has become to the political class. And I would like to think that there are governors who would not have done this, but I'm getting hard pressed to come up with one. I don't know. Do they all just fall prey to the temptations of this wealth that is handed them? It's a sad situation. This guy has no character whatsoever.
Okay, here's okay. Maybe I'll try to justify it for him, playing devil's advocate here. Is he not going to run for a third term? So at this point, yes, it would be political. It would cause him political harm to be doing this kind of ornate thing.
I think you're probably right.
And he just thinks, I'm just going to give myself this little reward the last couple of years, their term.
The cheap guy doesn't even own a house.
What's he going to do? Well, he'll probably, he'll get the sandwich board out there and start walking university when he's done. We'll work for food.
The taxes are less than many, many smaller houses.
Yeah, I would really feel like a sucker. I'd really feel like a sucker if I was in St. Paul right now.
I lived in someplace like that. I don't want to get out, but what are you going to do?
Well, there's places.
At least there's no potholes.
There's places on River Boulevard, much smaller than a McFadden's house, and I know for a fact that the property taxes are $35,000 a year on River Boulevard. If you do the math of what it costs to sleep in your own bed, you'd go crazy. And I know guys who have owned a house that was $35,000 a year, and they sold.
They've done that?
They're done. No, I never have. No, they moved. I suppose that I better not keep that up because the governor will say, "See how much money I'm saving you on property taxes." Well, you're not saving it, Governor. McFadden's paying the property taxes. That's the one thing that the taxpayers aren't getting stuck for. But that's the difference between Dakota County and Ramsey County, is that a house that massive could have less taxes than many, many, many smaller houses in St. Paul, in Highland Park, Crocus Hill, Kings Maplewood, Mississippi River Boulevard, Summit Avenue.
Well, remember, Joe, also.
And one day St. Paul will come to the realization that they've run out of the money to keep expanding the government.
Mm-hmm. Please don't forget the fact that there are also 5 staff members at the mansion: a manager, assistant manager, chef, housekeeper, and groundskeeper.
The guy might as well be a king.
I am king of Minnesota. Remember when I was king of America?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was way back. That was great. I had a maid.
What do, John, what do lefties like you think of this?
Now, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
I'm no lefty.
We don't want Scott McSherritt to come down and kick our ass.
Let me ask it differently.
You don't like one guy and suddenly you're a lefty.
Yeah. Well, I don't like him either. So I guess
You don't like him either,
You're
so
a
you're a
lefty,
lefty
too. Get out of my yard.
Oh, I got some foul,
You're a commie.
cruel email today from people who heard me say Trump should be in a rubber room. I mean, it was foul.
I've received that in the past, so I understand.
So what do you remember the gal who wrote a letter to the editor? Oh, it's getting to be 6 weeks ago or so, and she wrote a letter thankful for her property taxes.
Yes.
I don't remember her name, but
I love the greenery, and we have a park.
Was that Kathy?
I don't remember her name, but we tried to. Nobody listening to the show could obviously get to her.
Yeah, it was Kathy.
They were a long way from being. She was a long way from being a GLer, and it was unlikely she would be aware of our wish to speak to her. But she probably pays about $800 a year in property taxes, and was just thrilled at what she got for her money. Now, what does a woman like that think of this? Do they even care? Do they read about it? Does it occur to them what this is? Do they care? I think they don't care.
No, they don't care.
They don't care. And I think anybody who would care, if the budget situation last week didn't change their thinking, then their thinking's never going to change. If they can't arrive at what the Democrats are doing with the budget is wrong, then their thinking's not going to change.
This guy stole your surplus, and he's using it to expand the government by $18 billion a year, which will never go away, meaning added to the baseline is an additional $18 billion a year from now until we melt from cataclysmic climate change. So he stole that money to expand the government, and now he's moving into an estate on Sunfish Lake. It's incredible what is happening, and this state seems to be full of people who really don't care.
Bring on the wenches! More wine for my friends!
And he has a staff. He's had a chef and a groundskeeper and why do you need a manager of a house to do what?
Well, I'll give him at the. I don't know if he's bringing them over to Mac's house, to McFadden's house, but
where did McFadden move? I wonder.
Across the border.
I don't know.
In that article, it said the leasing property has a Wisconsin address.
Oh, all right.
So maybe he's
whatever.
Maybe he's splitting 6 months in a day down south and in Wisconsin.
I don't know.
He sure as hell was mad at those overpriced property taxes in Sunfish Lake.
See, I'm not wealthy enough to pretend I don't care.
I think if I had $80 million and I saw this, I still would care.
It's just
a lot less.
He is a tremendous disappointment as a guy. Just as a guy, he's proven to be a tremendous disappointment.
I haven't given up getting him on the air yet. I think you're okay to tell him that.
He's not coming on with us.
I'm not done yet.
He's fully ensconced in the third rail. He's acting like a civil servant would. He's grabbing every piece of the pie he can find, and he's relishing it. And it doesn't seem to, if it did occur to him, it does not seem to bother him that he's not living his promises. Now, I don't know if he's specific, not that he specifically promised to always live in a closest to the tallest buildings and in the urban sustainable core. I'm sure he's never promised that, but given everything he preaches about how safe we are and what a great job we're doing, the cities are falling apart, crime is rampant, and all he's done is guarantee that he's really, really made himself safe from that.
Yes,
that's crime does not visit the shores of Sunfish Lake.
No, but okay.
And then he'll be chauffeured there. To and from.
I think he's got the Yukon or the Tahoe.
Well, he'll be chauffeured though. He doesn't even need to own a car. Now maybe he owns one, and in case he and the missus want to go house hunting. Well, maybe.
He's driven. He's driven around.
But he's chauffeured around, and now he's going to be chauffeured to a mansion that you pay for. And in the meantime, we are paying for that preposterous $6.3 million renovation, which will be $10 million before it's done.
Yeah, that's the key. Oh, so that $6 million is in 2023 dollars in March. Okay.
I wonder what the euphorians say. The only thing I can come up with is they're not going to say anything because they just don't allow it to factor into their thinking. So what are they thinking about?
What are they thinking about?
What are they thinking about? If this doesn't bother them, what bothers them?
They're not worried about their own and their numbers. They're worried about the other side and how they can chase after. They're willing to overlook waste on their side because they're virtuous, but they're not willing to overlook any. There's no wiggle room on the other side. And that, again, is what's wrong with this country. 10%. I'm in the 80, right in the middle.
Well, I don't think any governor should behave this way, Republican or Democrat. I think it's a poor example of behavior. It's a real character flaw. It was a chance for him to display character, and he is not displaying any character.
Right.
I know a bunch of guys in the realty business. I bet you I could find you a house on Summit the same size as the Irvin house that could be leased.
I bet
it would be cheaper.
I'm sure of it. Have you gone up and down Summit and see the houses that are for sale?
Many times.
You've been there many times?
Been there many times. It's just amazing. You're aware of his. Well, I'm running out of time. Let's take a break, but first I want to tell you that Mueller Memorial's with us. Mueller Mortuary. They've been in the funeral business for more than 75 years. I've known the family almost that long. Not that long, because I'm not that old yet.
No,
but I've known the family a long time. And what they've done is take one of the most difficult times of life and made it more comfortable for people. I've been doing this for 3 generations. I know Scott and his family. I've had both my parents interred by the Mueller Memorial because they take care of the difficult details. Honest to God, they made it comfortable. They made it comfortable. They created events that ended up honoring loved ones and bringing families together. And ultimately what you do is you're celebrating a life well lived.
Hell yeah.
You're celebrating a life well lived. It's not a fun thing to talk about or deal with, but you have to. It's life, and this is part of life, and these guys take care of it. His people take care of it. He takes care of it. It does not have to be overwhelming. Scott Mueller has written a great book. It's called What to Know Before You Go. He answers the most commonly asked questions about death, grief, and funerals, and he does it in a way that will even make you comfortable. Go to MuellerMemorial.com to learn more. That's MuellerMemorial.com.
It's the Rook, and for quite some time here, I've been telling you about Minnesota Masonic Charities online at mnmasoniccharities.org. I'm really happy that they're paired up with us in Garage Logic, getting the word out. Again, it seems so silly, but people go, oh, yeah, that's the one with the... They're not. They are an open book, and they want you to learn the good things that they do. I told you earlier last week about Crescent Cove and how they donate. A wonderful, wonderful outfit that helps people in a terrible time of need so they don't have to worry. They're going to always worry, but they don't have to worry about maybe where they're going to sleep, where they're going to eat. So check out Crescent Cove through Minnesota Masonic Charities and go to their website. Poke around. Compassionate, committed, capable. Yes, keywords that describe Minnesota Masonic Charities. Started in 2006 when a bunch of Minnesota Masonry combined to be one umbrella organization. Now, that's a lot of philanthropy. Find out for yourself. You can call them if you'd like to talk and you're lonely, 952-948-6200. Or better yet, again, poke around their website and find out the great things they are doing in the state here at mnmasonic.charities.org.
Here's a man who spends hours in hardware stores, sifting through the nuts and bolts of life. Joe Souchere.
Here's John Heidt. No, I'm gonna hear Kenny first.
Oh, you're right. We'll let Kenny talk first. If I can find my stuff here.
Well,
yes, we are waiting.
I'm waiting.
I'm going to restart Kenny. Kenny, you ready? Okay, go ahead whenever you're ready.
A beautiful lawn, just a click away, professionalturf.com. If you want the best lawn on the block, go with ProTurf. They're a Minnesota lawn care company, been around since 82. ProTurf has service techs with over 20 years of experience. These guys know more about our lawns than we do. When I lived in South Minneapolis, it was their problem. My lawn, always their problem, and it always looked amazing. Schedule a free in-person lawn care analysis and estimate right now, professionalturf.com, and ProTurf will send out a tech to assess your lawn and then customize a slow-release fertilizer and weed control plan that not only is it environmentally safe, but it's guaranteed for a beautiful, healthy lawn, no weeds. Professionalturf.com.
Here's John Heidt.
Thank you, Joe. And this news is brought to you to the fine folks from the fine folks at professionalturf.com. Last week, we got the Democrats' plan for the state budget. Now, minority Senate Republicans are pitching a revised deal to Democratic farmer labor lawmakers on Social Security income tax and infrastructure borrowing. All of this comes after a disagreement on the issue stopped a $1.9 billion infrastructure investment proposal from moving forward earlier this month. Now that legislative DFLers are taking action on tax bills on their own, Senate Republicans are coming back to the table. They brought an offer to the table yesterday to revive the bonding bill, increase spending for long-term care and nursing homes, and eliminate Minnesota's income tax on Social Security payments. It matches the current DFL budget framework, calling for $3 billion in tax cuts and credits. Republicans have already been pushing for full elimination of the Social Security tax, but new to their offer is extra funding for the Departments of Ag and Human Services. Nursing homes and long-term care facilities would get $500 million more over the next 4 years. It also calls for increasing spending on ag by $80 million in the next 2-year budget. This all comes a week after DFL legislative leaders and the governor unveiled a general budget framework that would increase spending, as you heard earlier, by about $17.9 billion over the next 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
As we've also been talking about, the governor's mansion getting some work done. That means Governor Walz and his family are moving out. Plans to overhaul the 111-year-old governor's residence have been in the works for over 10 years. The English Tudor-style home slated for exterior repairs, along with upgrades to its mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and security systems, and more. Construction should start in June, take more than a year. During that time, the state will pay about $330,000 to lease a home for the Walz family, as we told you earlier, $17,326 a month. That house on Sunfish Lake, just south of West St. Paul in Dakota County. It's being rented from former Republican U.S. Senate candidate Mike McFadden. McFadden, a businessman who challenged former U.S. Senator Al Franken in 2014. Star Tribune reporting, remember, in the wake of civil unrest over the police killing of George Floyd in 2020, would-be visitors from suburbs, small towns, and neighboring states kept their distance from Minneapolis. Well, Minneapolis's largest city had developed a stigma fueled by occasional reports of violent crimes and theft, dampening tourism and recreation. Well, now they're trying to reverse those negative beliefs in Minneapolis and to remind people of what they're missing. The city's tourism agency is launching a new marketing campaign to convey wary explorers back into regular visitors. It's Minneapolis's See What All the Fuss Is About campaign.
Hey.
Targets those living within a 300-mile radius of the city. Duluth, St. Cloud, Mankato residents, as well as North Dakota, South Dakota, Iowa, and Wisconsin residents, and potentially even Canada, according to Melvin Tennant, chief executive of Meet Minneapolis. More than 60% of the city's visitors come from the suburbs, greater Minnesota, and bordering states, according to Tenant. In 2019, Minneapolis hotel occupancy was at 69%. That fell sharply in 2020 and 2021 to 21.4% and 29.9%. In 2022, occupancy did rise a bit again, up to 46.8%.
Here's the second paragraph in the Star Tribune story about this. A stigma about Minnesota's largest city was fueled by occasional reports of violent crimes and theft, dampening tourism and recreation. How could the Star Tribune allow itself to be that disingenuous? Occasional reports? How about daily reports?
Right.
Yes.
And from the Mole, I'm noting that this is happening now when crime is still an issue. There's not enough police, and the Hennepin County Attorney's new view of juvenile crime feels like the Music Man and a new kind of band instrument. Calling concerns for downtown a fuss is pretending violence, carjackings, etc. is almost like the kids in the Music Man not being able to play a band instrument. This is pathetic. These people in Minneapolis are lying to you. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. We're a hot mess.
We gotta do something about this, you know?
Occasional reports of violent crimes. Occasional. Really?
Come on,
Occasional?
Joel, come see what the fuss is about.
Come on downtown, see what the fuss is about. Yeah, right.
From up north, kind of a different kind of story. A 20-year-old man has admitted he used his truck to intentionally hit 3 deer while driving within city limits last week. The incident occurred March 21st in broad daylight on Highway 21 by the golf course, according to Minnesota Conservation Officer Anthony Bermel. Bermel said all 3 deer were paralyzed but still alive and had to be euthanized by an Ely police officer. Within 24 hours, Bermel and others began getting tips on who the driver may have been. Bermel, joined by a St. Louis County Sheriff's deputy and an Ely police officer, interviewed the driver, Casey Meadows, at his residence, and he admitted he hit the deer on purpose. There was never any good explanation as to why, according to Bermel. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
Lock him up.
It's a 30-mile-an-hour zone, so he had to speed up to hit the deer, all of them, single file. Bermel said the driver had a heavy-duty bumper guard on his truck, so he sustained no damage to the vehicle in the incident. He was issued a citation for chasing or injuring wildlife by use of a motor vehicle. That's a misdemeanor with a $300 penalty. He was also issued state restitution orders for $500 for each deer. Meadows can either pay the ticket and restitution or challenge them in court. Court records show Meadows paid citations for having a loaded firearm in a motor vehicle in 2021 and not having a current sticker on his snowmobile earlier this year. Bermel said the deer incident has caused a stir on social media in the Ely area, with some people suggesting officers should issue more severe charges.
Another week.
But Bermel said Minnesota statutes, good to hear from you, Kenny, are limited in this case, noting there is no provision for this crime in the state to take away Meadows' hunting or fishing privileges.
Yeah, except if you hurt animals, you'll hurt people. Lock this fruitcake up.
A sense of resentment might have played a role in a 28-year-old's deadly attack on a private Christian school in Nashville, according to police there. The shooter, Nashville resident Audrey Hale, had no previous criminal record before opening fire at the Covenant School, killing 3 children and 3 adults, authorities say. While officials originally said the shooter was female, Hale is believed to have been transgender and identified as a male. Hale had carefully planned the attack with detailed maps and surveillance, according to police. While the shooter may have targeted the Covenant School, the police chief stopped short of saying she was going after any specific people. There are also indications Hale had planned to target other locations, according to the chief. Covenant's head of school, Catherine Kuntz, was among those killed. The police said she targeted random students in the school. Whoever she came in contact with, she fired rounds. She shot her way through a locked door to gain entrance to the school. The former student is alleged to have left behind writings being studied by local and federal investigators. Looks like former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie is seriously considering a run for the Republican nomination for the presidency. Town hall meeting last night at the New Hampshire Institute of Politics. New Hampshire, of course, a frequent stop for presidential candidates in the early voting state. Christie blasted Donald Trump, said the country needs someone with guts to take Trump down in 2024. He said he himself would decide in the next 2 months whether he's running. Christie says he backed Trump until right after the 2020 election when Trump said he had won the election. Christie said the final straw came out election night in 2020 when Trump stood behind the presidential seal and falsely claimed the election had been stolen. Christie said, quote, when you put yourself ahead of our democracy as president of the United States, it's over. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy said this morning he's growing increasingly concerned about President Biden's unwillingness to negotiate on lifting the nation's borrowing authority, saying in a letter to the president that the White House position could prevent America from meeting its obligations and hold dire ramifications. Rather than open direct talks on the debt ceiling, which the Democrats agree have to be raised, Biden and his party's lawmakers are challenging Republicans to publicly present their own budget proposal, something McCarthy has not done. Political observers say the Democrats are betting on voters not liking cuts Republicans want to make to the budget if they're made public. Should we come back with some more news after a quick message?
Well, I think we should, John. And right now I'm going to tell you about Welter Heating, Ray and Welter Heating, online at welterheating.com. And this is the kind of tis the season, huh?
Tis the
season right now. It's the season where you just made it through with your furnace and it was making some funny noises. Don't just shut it off and forget about it. You need to have those issues addressed for those 20 below zero days, and the Welter team can do that. You can go online to welterheating.com. You can request an appointment, or you can call them. Go old school. They're going to answer the phone, 612-825-6867. They have been around for 100 years, so they know all the noises, they know all the nooks and crannies, and they're going to be upfront with you because you're a garage logician. 4 generations have worked at this place, and you know what? They're right there in Minneapolis. They don't have the fancy jingle. They didn't start 5 years ago. They started 100 years ago. So I want you to trust them. And they're going to trust you to call them right now, 612-825-6867. Those noises aren't going to go away, so use Welter, welterheating.com, or 612-825-6867. Don't forget to tell them you heard it on the Garage Logic podcast. Heat your shelter with Ray and Welter, and tell them that the Rook sent you.
Moon Motorsports is celebrating 52 years as a family-owned and operated multi-line dealer in Monticello, bringing us the very best in outdoor recreational vehicle fun. And in a completely unexpected move, even with the demand and the warmer weather on the way, Moon Motorsports has just discounted nearly all of their new KTM dirt and trail bikes. There's tons of models and sizes in the KTM lineup, so you can start the season off right with a brand new KTM dirt bike at the lowest prices available. And for you ATV riders, the favorite Can-Am Outlanders, they're all in stock. A wide selection of Outlanders, all sizes, all models, just waiting for you at Moon Motorsports. Moon Motorsports is our Polaris, Skidoo, Honda, Yamaha, Can-Am, and Dirt and Trail Adventure motorcycle brand leader. They're right there in Monticello and on the web, moonmotorsports.com.
You cannot stop him. He'll just make a move. Joe Soucheray.
Wow, that's nice. Is that Dylan?
It certainly
is. That
is. That was from, he sent it over in October, cut 3.
Huh. Nice.
Very nice, Johnny. Very talented son you have.
Speaking of musicians, we have a musician death.
Oh, no.
I don't know if you'll...
Obscure?
Well, you guys will probably say yes. I, of course, it's not obscure to me, but let's check. Tom Ledden, the guitarist who co-founded Mudcrutch with Tom Petty and Mike Campbell, and was, of course, the brother of Eagles co-founder Bernie Ledden, has died.
Mm-hmm.
He was 70. He died March 22nd. Only natural causes were listed on the thing, although he was playing up to that last week he was alive. So apparently it sounds like he perhaps just had a heart attack in his sleep. Mike Campbell, of course, Tom Petty, the Heartbreakers lead guitarist, said, Tom Ledden was my deepest guitar soul brother. We spent countless hours playing acoustic guitars and teaching each other things. A kinder soul has never walked the earth. Ledden grew up near Petty in Florida, and they formed Mudcrutch as teens. Ledden was the first to leave the area, though, quitting Mudcrutch and moving to California. He ended up playing in Linda Ronstadt's band at that point. Petty and friends followed the move shortly after that, and the Heartbreakers were formed. Ledden, in the meantime, joined the country rock band Silver alongside future Grateful Dead keyboardist Brent Midland. They scored a number 16 hit on Billboard's Hot 100 with Wham Bam Shang-a-Lang, but broke up 2 years later. Eventually, during the 80s and 90s, moved to Nashville, where he taught guitar. Then, out of nowhere, 2007, Tom Petty called him up, said he had grown nostalgic while wanting old Mudcrutch footage in the Peter Bogdanovich documentary, Running Down a Dream. If you've never seen that documentary, it's wonderful. Petty said he wanted to reform the band for a new album and a brief California club tour, so they cut 2008's Mudcrutch in a week. They cut another album in 2016, did short tours, both really good records, differing in form from the Heartbreakers. Mudcrutch mixing the country rock and jam band genres into a very cool mix. The band included Tom Petty, Campbell from the Heartbreakers, and Ledden. He was, as I said, Tom Ledden, 70 years old.
John, I've got some news you probably aren't aware of, music news.
Mm-hmm.
I read in the New Yorker magazine last night about a new documentary film called Whatever Happened to Blood, Sweat, and Tears.
Very familiar with the movie.
You are?
I've never seen it, yes. Oh, yeah. I know exactly what it's about.
Just came out.
Yeah, I know exactly what it's about, though.
Apparently, Blood, Sweat, and Tears was used as some sort of weapon against the Cold War. They were sent behind the...
what?
The Iron Curtain to play in, Hungary and whatever. And
is this like a skunk deal?
And apparently David Clayton Thomas, who's Canadian, he had some green card problems or something that went away if the band would do this.
Correct. Yes,
Yeah.
He had apparently pulled a gun on an acquaintance.
Yeah.
Is this another Joe O'Brien thing?
No.
No, David, he didn't abuse anybody.
Okay. But it does beg the question, what did ever happen to them? They had the one great album, and then they...
Well, no, you just weren't paying attention, Joe. They had several albums after that and several more hits.
All right.
After the one you're talking about, which was just called Blood, Sweat, and Tears, they had another album come out where they had several hits off that. Then they had Blood, Sweat, and Tears 4, which had several hits, including, remember, Go Down Gambling?
Yep.
Huge hit.
Yep.
Was on that album. Then David Clayton Thomas quit in about 73.
Yeah.
And
that's
then,
when the trouble started.
Then they had new singers. They had a hit with a song called So Long Dixie, which is a great song. And then David Clayton Thomas rejoined 1975, and they released 3 more albums.
Well, I'll be damned. I'm sorry I didn't know this, John. Yeah.
Oh, there's lots of Blood, Sweat, and Tears history. A big favorite of mine, I confess.
Okay.
I love that.
But yeah.
Boom, 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 ba-doom. And Bless the Beast and the Children.
What the hell
The
are you
bass?
talking about?
Whatever.
The bass and
I'm sorry.
What is
I
Bless the Beast and the Children?
no.
have to
What
do
is that?
Yeah, yeah.
What's the one? What's the song called?
It's your story. You
I
tell
have
us.
no idea what you're
Give me a
talking
lyric.
about.
Give me a lyric.
It starts out with the horns.
Okay. Yeah, they were a horn band.
It's Bless something.
Oh, I know what you're thinking of.
We used to play it as a bump. I loved it. I can't remember the name of it. I'll look it up.
Oh my God! That's
Okay,
it.
yeah.
You're fired. God bless the
What?
child. God
Oh,
bless
God
the
bless
child.
the child.
Yeah. It's a
Bless
jazz
the Beast
classic.
and the Children was a book.
A jazz classic from the 30s, written by Billie Holiday.
Okay.
Boy, we got a guy on board here who just can't be stumped. You're like the lake detective.
Yeah, the
Well,
music.
that's a classic jazz song, and Billie Holiday, of course, classic jazz singer.
Right.
But now you know
Great
what I'm
ones.
talking about with that bass in that song.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Nipple
Yeah,
bass.
let's talk some more
Way
about
up
Blood,
high
Sweat,
here.
and
Nipple
Tears.
bass.
Boy, I had another thought about that, but I can't remember what it was. Joe's
I didn't
probably
mean to
very
sidetrack
thankful.
you.
No, that's all right. It's nothing that important. Oh, the movie. We're going to talk about the movie a little bit. Apparently, it goes through a whole. There's tons of great clips, interviews with all the guys that were in the band about their trip to Russia and what happened after that. And Rook hit it right on the nose there. The Doobie Brothers were also used as a weapon against the Cold War.
Is that how Skunk got his taste?
He went there, and he said the people behind the Iron Curtain were starving for any kind of entertainment. He said he took guitars, he took pedals, he gave them to kids in the Soviet Union so that they would have something to make music with.
Oh.
And he says, and I'm not going to doubt him, that helped, cultivate a culture of openness behind the Iron Curtain, eventually leading to
the Berlin Wall coming down.
Yeah, there you go.
And this stupid ass Putin guy.
Yeah, unfortunately, it didn't last.
Wasn't all.
It didn't take.
Peaches and cream.
In Florida, the board of the Tallahassee Classical School pressured Principal Hope Karaskia to resign last week after an image of the David. You guys know the David, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I've seen it in person.
Lucky.
Yeah. Well, they showed it to a 6th grade art class, and apparently some parents were quite annoyed by it.
Well, it's just a sculpture. It's
Maybe they should call him the Little David.
No, it's fine.
Karaskia believes the board targeted her after 3 parents complained about a lesson including a photo of the David, a 17-foot nude marble sculpture dating from 1504. The work is considered a masterpiece of the Italian Renaissance, depicts the biblical David going to fight Goliath, armed only with his faith in God.
Yep.
Karaskia said 2 parents complained because they weren't notified in advance that a nude would be shown. A 3rd parent called the statue pornographic.
No, it's not. It's not pornographic.
One addendum to this story, Michelangelo's Renaissance masterpiece, the David, on Sunday, invited parents, the Florence Museum did, where it's at, invited parents and students from the Florida Charter School to visit after those complaints. No word if they'll take them up on that.
Really? How much of a priss do you have to be?
Pretty much.
Wow.
Also in Florida, even though the Disney film Ruby Bridges has been shown during Black History Month for years at Florida's Pinellas County, it was recently pulled because one parent was worried it would teach white children about the racism that Black children faced in the 1960s. Emily Conklin, whose child attends North Shore Elementary School, refused to let the students see Ruby Bridges when it was shown earlier this month. She made a formal complaint on March 6th, saying the use of racial epithets and images of white folks who harassed Ruby as she walked into a school would allow white children to see the racist history of segregation. School officials for Pinellas decided to ban the movie at the school until a review committee can evaluate it. Conklin, one of 2 parents who refused to let their children watch the movie after the elementary school had sent out permission slips, which included a link to a trailer 2 weeks before the movie was shown to classes.
Well, she's an idiot, and there's a lot of them out there.
Do you know how in the David, with the David sculpture, there's ornate detail?
Uh-huh.
That's why it's a classic. My wife took an art course at the U of M, and one day they were going to do some drawings, and out comes the Barry, and he completely disrobes, and the class is to do the picture. So she had good detail in the arms up here, but downstairs she just was like a whoop, real quick. She didn't go into detail on the. She was very shocked by that.
All right.
Is that too much information? Maybe
It really was.
Okay.
It's not much of a story.
Giving all of us older folks
There wasn't
something.
much to David. He wasn't. It wasn't one of these deals.
Right. That's what I'm saying. The little David, I call him.
Yeah.
There actually, I read yesterday a reason for that in one of these stories.
Shortage of marble?
No, it was purposely done to not draw attention to that region because they wanted the meaning of the statue to be bigger, if that makes sense.
Right.
Well, when you look at the statue, the arms, the chest.
It's a very modest swimsuit area.
Yes, but I'm saying everything in detail. He's got
Beautiful piece of work.
He's got the 6-pack going.
Yep.
Giving all of us older.
Didn't get a lot of
folks
dates after that, though. I think when he, I got my.
I want John to do the news now.
Giving all of us older folks something to shoot for. A 91-year-old Colorado man took about a 24-mile trek to become the Guinness World Record holder for oldest person to cross the Grand Canyon rim to rim on foot. John Jepkema, 91 years and 152 days old when he and his group of friends finished up their 5-day backpacking hike. The group started on the North Rim's North Kebab Trail and descended 14.3 miles and 6,000 feet to the bottom of the canyon, where they headed toward the Bright Angel Trail and ascended about 9.6 miles and 4,500 feet to the South Rim.
That's a feat.
So wait a minute. So he
Yes,
went
sir.
the long way
Yeah.
from start to finish, not just walk down across it on the ground.
Right. Correct.
He went the length of it.
Yes.
That's a
he went
feat.
Up and down, and yeah, exactly. He said he got ready for the attempt by walking 5 to 8 miles a day for 4 months.
Wow.
Jepkema said, I did lots of walking with a full backpack and as much trail and elevation changes as possible. I would walk 3 miles to morning coffee with a 30-pound pack and then walk back home.
You say, wow, is it because you're jealous that he walked that much?
My feet kill me, and this guy's 91.
Okay, so I you know what? I sense that in your wow. You're
That's
like, man,
amazing.
I wish I could do that.
That's amazing. Well,
And
congratulations.
you feel like
to
you're
him.
91.
No, but that's I mean, I walk, but that guy
I walk every day.
But I don't know if I have that in me. That's fantastic on his part. John, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, fine.
Sounds pretty good. Why don't we just take a break and we'll come back?
That's the point.
Another week, you know what I'm about to say, right? Maple Grove Lock and Safe, another big sale. Actually, the sale runs a couple of weeks. You can save up to $400 on select Bronze, Colonial, Fat Boy Jr., and Centurion safes. Don't wait, because this deal won't last forever. As a matter of fact, April 12th is the end date on this sale. The Liberty Safe, made right here in the USA with full transferable lifetime warranties and the best fire protection you can get. And the owner and proprietor, Rich, he'll set you up with professional delivery and installation. There's a website and a phone number. Website first, maplegrovelockandsafe.com. If you want to call Rich directly, 763-494-9075. They're at 6901 East Fish Lake Road. The big sale, Liberty, Colonial, Fat Boy Jr., and Centurion Safes, all on sale through the 12th. Check them out, maplegrovelockandsafe.com.
It's the end of the world as we know it, and he feels fine. Joe Souchere.
I'm going to go up and down Summit Avenue and find a house for the Gov.
That's a great idea. You would be saving the state money.
You know what else he'll hide behind? Well, he didn't want to disturb neighbors.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's going to be part of it. Yep. But he'll disturb the quaintness of Sunfish Lake. They don't want it. Roads right there say private.
Well, the other irony is that based on the people I do know who live there, there ain't no DFLers. He's
Correct.
kind of
I'm taking quick mental inventory of the
stranger
people I
in a
know.
strange land there.
Yeah.
Only because they come to us all the way from Marloth Park in Mpumalanga, South Africa, from the traveling Lymans at Worldwide Waftage. Only one thing happened on this day in Minnesota.
You don't tell me.
Of note.
This
Only
is
one
March
thing.
28th. March 28th is a dull day in Minnesota?
On this day,
What?
in 1992, William Marpens, Duluth's premier civil rights leader, died. He served as president of the Duluth NAACP chapter, and when an African-American family was prevented from moving into a Duluth neighborhood, he launched a campaign that led to a city fair housing ordinance. He also organized a food drive for poor African Americans in Mississippi. When white truckers in the South tried to block the shipments, he persuaded Duluth Teamsters to deliver the food.
Good for him. Sounds like a hail fellow well met.
William Moppins. He was well known in the Duluth area.
And he died in 92?
He died on this day,
March 28th.
in 1992.
Okay.
On this day in history.
I'm shocked that there's not anything else.
That's it. That's all we did
Minnesota.
on this day.
One thing?
One thing.
Yeah.
One thing. I don't know who it is that decides these things.
Because there's more stuff that happened.
You would think some other stuff happened, but we don't
Southdale
know.
opened or something like that.
We don't know.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, GLers.
Yeah, I think we did okay. We didn't need either one of those two morons, huh?
Well, we'll see.
A couple of mistakes on my part here that Reeves will mock me for, but I think we'll be all right. Okay, if you want to be all right, then go to PodMN on your smartphone and pick out one of your own, very own podcasts that you'll love to listen to. There's a wonderful library at PodMN on your smartphone. Also, don't forget about the Garage Logic Town Council. Go to garagelogic.com. It's super easy to do. And sign up for the Garage Logic Town Council. You could possibly get yourself a $10 Frattallone's Hardware and Garden Stores gift card. It's just that simple. You pay $10 a month or $100 a year. Garage Logic Town Council's a lot of fun. Check it out. Oh, don't forget, YouTube. Subscribe to Garage Logic on YouTube. A lot of great videos out there. Thanks, guys. Chai later.
It's time once again to check in with our guy, Mr. Money Talk, Josh Arnold, who's on the line with us. No better time than right now to pick up that phone and give Josh a call for that free 48-minute financial consultation. The number to dial, 952-925-5608. That number again, 952-925-5608. You can make that call, and with Josh, you know what you get. He always gives you straight talk without sugar-coated advice, and some of that straight talk right now includes possible recession time. Josh, what can you tell us? Is a recession in the cards?
I don't know. I really do not know, but I've been listening to numerous strategists, commentators, other money management professionals who keep talking and have been talking since the Fed started raising interest rates a year ago, and that a recession was in the bank. Count on it. A recession is in the bank, they have said, because the short-term interest rates are higher than the long-term rates, also known as an inverted yield curve. And then they have pointed out to other things that have been happening in the bond market, not just in the government bond market, but in the junk bond market, where currently the yield spread between the, we'll say, worst bonds, CCC, and some of the better bonds, the investment-grade bonds, is at an all-time high, signaling that numerous companies in the CCC category will be unable to pay their debts and or could default on their debts. Add to this issues in the commercial real estate business as leases start to get renewed. Many commercial real estate companies are unable to renew at past rates, and numerous companies are looking for less space. Now, this has a lot to do with the pandemic and the work-from-home ethos that has hurt many companies in many metropolitan areas. It is also going to cause or could cause some delinquencies and or defaults on high-grade, or not high-grade bonds, or high-grade mortgages, but commercial mortgages, which in turn could hurt banks. And as you're probably aware, we're right now in the midst of a bit of a banking crisis. I have stated before that I am not a bank investor, really don't want to be a bank investor, and banks right now, with the FDIC on them, with regulators now focused back on them, with the need to have more capital, are going to be very, very tight in their lending, which could create a little bit of a credit crunch. All of that could lead to, a broader economic slowdown or a recession. Now, one of my friends, Chris Dvorak of Dvorak Technical Research, who also happens to be my technical analyst, has said that his economics professor had stated that economics is matter of getting what you expect. And if more people expect a recession, well, that could lead to one. And and I say if, we have a recession, it will be one of the most advertised and well-anticipated recessions around. And if that is the case, then many stocks, as I'm a stock guy, and more particular a growth stock guy, many stocks may have already priced that inevitability, or as these strategists and investment people say, they have already priced a lot of that downside in. Me, I keep looking for companies that still have or still are able to grow their earnings from growing sales, even if those sales, as the economy slows a little bit, also slow down. So to me, the focus should still be on companies that generate a lot of cash and provide a good or service that people can't be without.
Thanks, Josh. You heard him, GLers. What great information right there. And now is the time to pick up that phone and make the call for that free 48-minute financial consultation. The number to dial, 952-925-5608, where you will always get straight talk and you'll never get sugar-coated advice.
Investment services offered by Josh Arnold Investment Consultant, LLC, a security investment advisor. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. All investments involve risk. All comments and opinions are Josh Arnold's and do not constitute investment advice.
Chris Reavers is a paid endorser.